So welcome everyone, I'm Ivy Rivera. I'm a Taino Airwalk and I own a school called the Ivy League Psychic Academy. I'm a psychic medium who trains other psychic mediums, but also light work in a lot of different areas like Reiki, tarot, astrology, numerology, meditation, children, empathic ability, you name it, we do it. We have a set of assistant teachers, of course, who help me with that. I just stay in my lane, which is psychic mediumship stuff. And what you've caught today is a free mini class, part of the quarantine series. So if you want to see all the free mini classes I've been putting out for the pandemic, you can go onto YouTube at Ask Ivy and hit the playlist button. They're all collected nicely there. Today we are talking about the CLAIRS. Now, a lot of people have heard about the CLAIRS, and there are a lot of myths and misinterpretations floating around out there. You can Google a CLAIR and you can sort of compare notes and think, some things are similar, but others seem to be way off base. Why don't these match? Because I don't think a lot of people really understand what they are, but they are legitimate. It is very real, and you should get in touch with whatever abilities it is that you have going on. So what are the CLAIRS? The CLAIRS are like a sixth sense, so to speak. It is additional senses that you have based on your unique intuition. When people talk about your abilities to hear and see and taste and touch, they like to say, clinically and otherwise, that that's what's appropriate, and anything beyond this is like a medical condition or a mental health problem, or it's a sign of, like the church may say, some paranormal activity or something dark. And that is not at all the case. So when we look at the different CLAIRS, we're looking at additional abilities. And a lot of people in the spiritualist community like to say, well, that's a gift. That's a gift. I don't believe in these as gifts. I believe that everybody has these, but most certainly to different degrees. There are some of you that will listen to these today and say, oh my God, I get that all the time. And there are others that will remember back, I had that once, but you don't see it all the time. So it doesn't mean that it isn't there, and it doesn't mean that it can't be activated. So what we want to do with our CLAIRS, if we want more of it, is to feed it. What I do with my psychic mediumship students is we go through a set of exercises that triggers all of these CLAIRS. And by the end of the course, they have all of them. However, remember that what you feed in regards to your intuition, you get more of. So you don't want to just open up Pandora's box and then not know how to manage it. Management is key, because these can often be misinterpreted as disorders, anxiety, depression, ADHD, all kinds of things, okay? So just be mindful that clinically this may be frowned upon, and you shouldn't let that influence you. All right, so let's take a peek here. All right, so why do we have these? Well, why shouldn't we have these? We're spiritual beings having a human experience. Every time I post something about these, people are like, well, why? Well, what does it mean? Well, what do I do with it? Well, how do I get rid of it? It's like, calm down. This is not a negative thing. Just because society has labeled it as negative doesn't mean you need to question why. Do you question why you hear? Do you question why you taste? Do you question why you breathe? It's part of the human experience. This is natural. We have just been so disconnected by society from our roots. They've been so blocked and severed since our childhood that we start to see these things as warnings or dysfunctional in some way. Why are they there? Because it's part of the experience. It's also a sign, and you should pat yourself on the back and congratulate yourself when you notice one of these showing up more in your life, because it's kind of like a graduation. So intuitive intelligence increases throughout our lives. If you want to see the full list of reasons for increases, go to IvyRiveraEmpathicEducator.com and click on the General Empathic Awareness Training. Paul, could you put that in the comments?
I will, and it's clickable in the description as well.
Perfect. Okay, so that's where I break down all the different reasons that we would have a trigger, an increase. with our intuitive intelligence. And it ranges from pregnancy to someone in your circle dying, to it just happening by accident every 5 to 6 years, to major life increases that everyone has, all kinds of things. So when you increase with your intuitive intelligence, these clairs can get triggered. Sometimes all of them, sometimes only a couple. And again, the ones that you shove way down won't grow as fast as the ones that you start utilizing. What I hope for you to walk away with today is that by the end of class, you not only understand this, what they are, you understand which ones you have, and you understand how to manage it and use it wisely. Okay, so the reason I designed this class for my psychic mediumship students, the full 2-hour training, is because I train them in a method called the PSC method. That's a psychology of spirit communication method. That's trademarked. I'm the only one in the world teaching it. It was given, channeled directly through me from spirit. And this sort of abandons the old school method of training psychic mediums. It abandons that pacifist method. Hours and hours of meditation, sitting and hoping to maybe receive a message. Maybe you do, but you don't understand what it means. We're not allowed to communicate with spirit or our abilities and really ask the right questions. All of that is old school. All of that is done. It's not getting us anywhere. So the PSC method is really the opposite of that. It's about being an active participant in what's going on and understanding, without all of these old school myths, where it's coming from and how to use it. So the clairs have helped my students rapidly learn how to read and how to control their abilities. Now, not all of my students want to read, and maybe you guys tuning in here tonight, you don't want to become psychic mediums. Maybe that has no interest for you whatsoever, but you do want to understand your body more. You do want to understand things like your anxiety or your depression more. You want to own your energy. You want to be able to tune other people out. You don't want to be over-absorbing other people's stuff all the time. You just want to have peace when you're at work or around your family or whatever. Maybe you do have a couple key loved ones that you would like to communicate with, or just your ancestors or your guides more. That's fine. This is going to work for everybody, but that is the root of why this class was designed, was for psychic mediumship students who wanted to learn the full language through the PSC method. All right. Now, let's talk about some of the most common ones. I'm just going to go from the top to the bottom. Clairvoyance. Clairvoyance, most commonly heard. Most people know this as being connected to psychic ability. And it is the ability to see the past, the present, and the future with accuracy. Not only for ourselves, but also for others. This means that when someone comes and stands too close to you, or you're having lunch with somebody, someone calls you on the phone, someone is reaching out to you on social media, whatever it may be. When someone comes in contact with you in any way, you may accidentally see the past, the present, and the future for that person. Now, the only way to know whether or not it's accurate is to test it out. I would recommend keeping a journal about the things that you see and test it out. Sometimes you can ask somebody, did this happen to you when you were a kid? Did you ever live in a blue house with, like, I don't know, a horse? You know, you can ask these things of some people and be able to use that as a testimony that you're on the right track. Now, one of the things that can happen with clairvoyant ability that can be unpleasant is that when you get really, really strong in this, you can see tragic world events. For instance, I saw 9/11 coming, and I received messages from spirit and angels with that were telling me I had to leave New York City. I got out. I convinced my ex, who was my husband at the time, that we had to leave. We had to get out of New York City and transfer. We made it out with 9 days to spare. He worked in both towers. And on the floors he worked on, no one made it out. That's just one example of how clairvoyant ability can switch into something that's kind of hokey, that's kind of cool, spooky. How did I know that? How did I know the phone was going to ring? How did I know that movie was going to pop on, or I'm going to bump into that person I haven't seen in 25 years? How did I know they were going to reach out to me on Facebook? It can quickly become something like prophetic visions about major world events, tragedy, death, illness, warnings. That's called messenger of death syndrome. Most people who have messenger of death syndrome develop a lot of guilt, survivor's guilt. They think there's something wrong with them. And typically, if you talk to those in the church, they will tell you that it's demonic, it's coming from a dark place, maybe that you're even being punished or you're somehow connected to the devil. It can cause a ton of depression and anxiety, all right? There's nothing wrong with it. I would not be here if I didn't have it. Neither would my ex, neither would two of my children. So it's okay. But we have to learn with clairvoyant ability that it can get very, very intense. It can happen very quickly. And as with any intuitive trigger or leveling up, it cannot be reversed. So you need to learn to manage those and use them productively. Okay. The next one I want to get to, number 2, clairaudient ability. All my students want clairaudient ability, and those games that I do are always fun. Those exercises are awesome. Because anyone who wants to do mediumship or really channel their ancestors, or they want their prayer time or their meditation time to be more productive, what everybody wants is to be able to just hear the spirits in your head or hear them audibly. Clairaudient ability is not the most common thing to see, however, but we do all get it from time to time. So one of the ways to know that you have it is to pay attention to a couple other physical triggers. Clairaudient ability is the ability to hear in your mind's eye a spirit communicating with you. It will seem as though it is your own voice most of the time. When we were children, we would audibly hear spirits with our ears. That kicked in at 3 years old due to certain brain waves. And when we turned 5 and 6, it switched up into our minds. 5 and 6, the right side of the brain starts to develop and clairaudience develops. We no longer hear them with our ears. We only hear them in our head. This is where a lot of misdiagnoses can start coming in. How do you know if your clairaudient ability is kicking in? Most common things to see are the ringing in the ears, especially on the left side. That's tinnitus, or like a feeling of pressure in your ears, or like a seashell is up to your ears. The grandmothers used to say left for love, and that was pretty accurate. That is spirit communication. It could also be an anxiety attack or perfusive sweating. Those are the most common things to see. Some people who have this really intensely will get numb in the face, the mouth, the hands, the feet, a tingling. Okay. Now, when the messages are coming in, and you realize this is happening to you regularly, one of the things I would ask of you guys for healthy spiritual hygiene and self-maintenance is to check and see whether or not those thoughts are good or they're not so good. If you're having a lot of thoughts that you don't care for, they're toxic, they're negative, it's self-degradation, dragging down your self-esteem, you may have lower or negative spirits in the universe also using your clairaudient ability to meet their own agenda. Okay, they're probably just stealing your energy. So people who have this, while it's a wonderful ability, and it means that you can channel spirits directly. Spirits could just talk to you, and you could just be the mouthpiece for them. That is amazing, but when it goes bad, it goes very bad. And typically you learn to attack your own self and your own self-esteem. Okay, and that's not coming from you. Remember, God did not design a spirit of fear. God did not design that spirit of depression and darkness like that. Okay, that's not normal. So pay attention, be mindful at all times of the thoughts that you're having. And that ringing in the ear, the anxiety, the sweating, those other things I mentioned, they go hand in hand. The third one is clairsentience. Clairsentience is the ability to feel physically in your body what someone else is experiencing. So when we talk about a heat, a tingling, a pressure, a squeezing, a physical pain, a discomfort, That's called a physical impression. Physical impressions, through the PSE method that I train my students in, are either coming from atmospheres, objects, others, meaning living, or others, meaning spirits around. So that's where it can get a little confusing, because you could be mislabeled as being a hypochondriac. People could be like, what is wrong with you all the time? Why are you always complaining about something? It could be that you feel pretty okay when you're alone, but when you get around other people, or even if other people are reaching out to you through technology, you pick up on their pain. So it's an accidental absorption. If you have this, again, it can range from a tingling to intense pain sometimes. If you have this, I would recommend that you do take the empathic awareness training that Paul had put in the write-up. You go to Ivy Rivera, empathiceducator.com, empathic awareness training for the general public. This will help you to block. It will help you to cleanse and to release. If you have clairsentient ability, you are probably really, really skilled in the healing arts. So you may have been pulled into like the medical field or clinical or holistics in some way, possibly even like therapy. You may also be skilled in medical intuitive abilities, which is sort of a whole other thing. We don't have time to get into all that today, but that's all connected. So that is a pretty intense intelligence. If you are looking to use that and you are hoping to become a psychic medium, this is the easiest way for a deceased family member of your client or loved one to step in and say, this is how I died. That helps you with identification. Okay, so grandpa steps in, he had a heart attack, you feel heart pain, you could say, I have a grandfather here, died of a heart attack. And they're like, oh my God, that's my grandpa who just passed. Okay, that's perfect. That's beautiful. We want this. It can also be for the purpose of helping other people to clear up their medical problems or prevent them. So it may be preventative and definitely something you should learn about to help others, but you really do need to protect yourself so you're not overwhelmed with this all the time, because it can feel very negative, this one. Okay. I do want to stop and get to any questions.
Yeah, you got a couple here.
Okay.
There's one from Aviana Blanca.
Okay.
Who asks, is seeing warnings in dreams also clairvoyant?
Seeing warnings in dreams? I would say that's clairvoyant. It's possible that a spirit came to you and told you, warned you about that, but I would say that it's most likely your higher mind, your psychic ability, prophecy in that way. Yes, absolutely.
Very cool. And we have one from Rebecca C. on TikTok.
Okay.
It said, I had a dream of a missing boy. Show me a location. Don't know the kid or the state or know if it's real. I woke up dizzy and vomiting.
Yeah, so when you're dizzy, when you're vomiting, when you feel that you can't get to a normal almost equilibrium for, sometimes up to 3 days, you may have that messenger of death syndrome. And it's a sign that you should probably train in things like criminal investigations, missing persons. We do that here at the Academy. Check it out. Okay. So another really important one, but one that is, I want to say, the least discussed, is Claire Augustine. I think this is super fascinating. Every time it happens to me, I'm amazed. Claire Augustine is the ability to taste phantom flavors or smell phantom odors and scents as though they are real. So if you've ever had a loved one who passed from smoking, a cancerous condition, something like this, and you can smell their cigarette smoke when they come to visit, that's what this is. If you ever smell anyone's perfume, a great example of this, I had a client coming in, and right before she had arrived for her appointment, her deceased fiance came to me in spirit and was trying to get me to dance with him around the room. And I said, you're crazy. I said, what are you doing? And he was like silly and funny. I didn't know he was drunk. And this was disgusting, right? So like I burped and I threw up like a Jack Daniels in my mouth. And then I could taste the brand of cigarette. He was smoking Marlboro Reds because that used to be my brand. So I recognized that. And I said, ew, what is going on? Well, my client gets there and I'm giving her a reading. And I said, you have a gentleman here, like a young guy. She said that was her fiance. He was in the military, and the last time she saw him, they were at a ball dancing together on the military base in North Carolina. He was drinking Jack Daniels and he smoked Marlboro Reds. And that to me solidified how this random freakish ability could be used for such a tremendous healing message for someone. So it was really actually beautiful. You will swear to God that everyone in the room can smell it, or that it's on your clothes, right? And that's all it is. Now, this can also take a negative turn, but it's for self-protection. Should you ever smell something rotten, something really disgusting, almost like the smell of death, or there's like fire, that can actually be symbolic of a paranormal problem that needs to be cleansed. Clair empathy, number 5. Clair empathy is the ability to feel emotionally what other people are feeling and to think what other people are thinking. So it's mental and emotional. It's very similar to clairsentience, and often people who have clair empathy also have clairsentience, but it's not all the physical stuff. This is really about what the person is dealing with energetically. And it can go hand in hand with that healing ability that we talked about earlier, whether it be medical intuitive, or you could feel drawn, yes, into the clinical fields, but you may be more drawn into like psychology, sociology. You know, you want to be a counselor, a teacher. Claircognizance, number 6. Claircognizance is the most misunderstood. People talk about claircognizance, and I'm thinking, what on earth are they even talking about? They'll put up like 15 different things. It's like 15 ways to know you're claircognizant. And none of them are accurate. They're basically saying that claircognizance is all the other clairs. And it's not that. What we know of claircognizance, and this I will vouch for, it is bestowed upon the person from God, or if you're not comfortable with that term, you can say from the universe. This is a gift given to the person if they are truly living a life of service. People like to claim that they have claircognizance, and I've rarely ever seen it. Psychic mediums like to claim that they have claircognizance, and I rarely ever see it. People who have it, firefighters, teachers, moms and dads, those who have suffered tremendous loss, maybe police officers if they're doing a good job, people in the medical field who are sacrificing tremendously, people who have given up sometimes their livelihood to be there for others. It reminds me of like Mother Teresa. She did not appreciate having to do, but did it without expecting in return. When you are willing to live a life of service, and that means following what God has asked of you to do, to serve the light, that's where claircognizance comes from. So it's not typically something that psychic mediums have. It's really these other people. When we look at societies right now dealing with the pandemic, I guarantee more than any psychic medium is going to have this, you're going to see people who are like, to understand simultaneously the past, the present, the future, everyone and everything involved in a situation. It cannot be defined by any other clair or even a combination of clairs. And it's like a light switch. It can come on and then it will turn back off. When it is on, you are in a trance-like state. You may feel warmth. You may feel peace. You may say things in this trance-like state and have no memory of it. People may say thank you to you later and you don't remember saying that helpful thing or doing that helpful thing. And it is the way that angels communicate. Angels are often confused for aliens because they are tubular light beings. They are the healing entities of the universe, and they communicate through this trance state of claircognizance. So for those of you who've ever received a download, you may have felt that that came to you in a claircognizant state of mind. We have another free mini class up here called Receiving the Download, often given to us by angels. Okay. That information comes through into you, and you later can use it for development on your own life, healing the universe around you, things like this. So it is the most intense of the clairs. It is the biggest honor to have this, because this isn't really something you could just build. It has to come from an authentic place. Very, very powerful. Okay. Do we have any questions or comments on any of these? Those are the 6. Again, if you want the full course on these, in-depth description of what they are, how it applies to you, how to trigger it, how to use it in your healings or your readings or communicating with the other side in any way, this is a class that's up on my website, or you could join us for the psychic mediumship course. Do we have questions or comments here?
Yeah, both. It's a lot of people very excited for this one, and I don't blame them. It's very fun.
It is fun too. I know.
So, about clairaudience, Taylor is asking, why do I hear conversations in the bathroom with the fan on? Is that common?
Yeah, it is common. If you go onto my TikTok at Ask Ivy, I just put one up where I talked about a video, I think this was like 2 weeks ago, where I said, why on earth is spirit always communicating with me when I'm in the bathroom? Of all places. That was actually the title of the video. Why is this happening in the bathroom? So it isn't just spirit communication in the bathroom. It's also your telepathy, your psychic ability kicking in. And we typically see that, based on a native belief, that the combination of the porcelain, the earth, the water, the mirrors, when you put all these things together, we have activation, okay? And what it does for most people, especially when they're like brushing their teeth, because you're directly working with the water in the mirror and things like this, you typically hear in your mind's eye conversations that will later occur. Is it useful? Probably not. Sometimes it is, though. And, what you're really trying to do is, again, check and see how valid it is. Check and see how accurate you are. And it's something that I feel is sort of like a test. Every time I see one of these new abilities kicking up within myself, my life, I like to say, you know what? I'm really going to embrace it. I'm going to take the time to acknowledge it. I'm going to feed it. I want more of this. And so that would be an opportunity for you to sort of observe it as a kind of freakish occurrence and feed it. You want more of that for sure.
Jamila says that clairsentience is very overwhelming and an intense feeling.
Yes.
Yeah. So Jill said that Claire Augustine's her favorite. Smelling black licorice is always her nana, either saying hi or checking in on her or to warn her.
Love it.
And Chicken Mama said that all the time she can smell flowers, she's tasted blood, and always cigarettes and cigars. She's worried about the blood taste. Is this normal or negative?
Well, it can be coming from an atmosphere or an object. So earlier when I broke this one down, I talked about multiple areas that hold energy, and you, if you have the ability, will accidentally absorb from. So is it possible that there are objects, or you're living in a space where this is connected to the house itself? Could it be connected to the land? If, let's say, you live in a house where there was an old guy who smoked and coughed up blood and choked and died, or what have you, right? That becomes something you experience on a regular basis. It can also be very connected to, I said this earlier, clair empathy. So you could also physically feel, not only physically feel, but you could emotionally and mentally pick up on what this individual may have gone through. So you want to look not just at the, is there a spirit trying to communicate? It would probably be an atmosphere issue. And it is possible that there is someone else around you. So this is just for everyone listening to this question. If you start to notice that these things are happening frequently, who are you around the most? Is it something that the living is dealing with? Or who are you around the most? Is there a deceased spirit that's around them all the time and it's activating you, right? People who don't believe in mediumship, say you have a boyfriend and he doesn't believe in any of this, and his grandfather is around him all the time trying to get messages through. Well, if he died choking up blood and he used to smoke and what have you, who's going to pick up on it? You. You're going to just be overwhelmed with this. And you really are trying to have nothing to do with it. So it's a whole messaging system. It's the lost language. That's what we designed the PSC method to be for the psychic mediumship training, is restoring this lost language. And at the base of it is the clairs. Yeah.
Candace is wondering what it is if you receive messages through animals.
Yeah. So that would be clair empathy. When we talked earlier about the angel communication, there's a class called Coffee with Your Angels that breaks this down up on the website. Paul, can you put that in the comments? Mm-hmm. So Coffee with Your Angels class breaks down for you the communication between angels, the healing entities of the universe, empathic people, and animals. It's a triad of healing, and they work in conjunction with each other. So basically, if you have a lot of empathic ability, you would always attract animals, always attract strays, whether you like animals or not. I mean, they're going to come to you, and you may be very drawn to help and assist them. So essentially what they're doing is they're restoring your strength, your energy level, because you are a healer and you're always giving out voluntarily and involuntarily. You maybe are getting drained. So in times when you're getting drained because you're not protecting yourself, these animals will show up more frequently. Check out the empathic awareness training I mentioned earlier. But what really happens when we have an empath and an animal come together is this hidden telepathy, this language. So it was a big thing through the 90s, and even, I see it sometimes still around today, where it's like someone's an animal whisperer. The animal healer is coming to town. It's this big thing. My students are trained in talking to animals in almost every single reading that they give. If an animal shows up, they are forced to sit and talk with it. They are expected to channel it, not just ignore it and blow it off. It's inappropriate. They are these tremendous healers that are around us all the time. And they're so overlooked, so disregarded. So when you are able to know what an animal needs, is allergic to, what's upsetting them, it is something that you should be sharing. So one of the things that we do here at the Academy is like animal Reiki. We do every month when we do our monthly psychic fair. It's called Walk-In Night. We do it the last weekend of every month. We always have a pet reader available for living or deceased pets, because often people don't understand that maybe there is paranormal activity in the home that's upsetting the animal, or they've developed an allergy, or they would just prefer that you don't leave all the lights off, leave the radio on in a night light. There are so many things. They don't like the other animal in the house. There's so many things that are going on. And if you can easily understand them, you should really be sharing this with the public, because it's pretty rare, which is just beyond me. I just don't understand how that happened. But we're told that's childish, right?
And the animals are surprisingly hysterical.
They're hysterical, and they're so easy to understand because they don't mince words, right? It's humans that are complicated in their communication. It's the animals that are crystal clear.
That's right. Aviana had said that clair empathy is hard to deal with because you can tell when people are lying to your face because they act like they like you, but their energy says differently.
Yeah, for sure. I know I did a couple videos on this on TikTok that you'll want to check out. And that's one of the things we speak about also in the empathic awareness training, is that research shows that it can actually create a lot of discord. So whether that's anxiety or depression, when your telepathy kicks in, and that's at the 3rd and the 4th levels of empathic ability, or we would say when you have clair empathy at the higher levels. When telepathy kicks in and you can authentically hear what other people are plotting or saying or, thinking and feeling toward you, that gets very disturbing to have to deal with, especially in a family dynamic where you feel kind of trapped, or with in-laws, or in a work environment. You have to continue to act like you don't know it, or you have to play it off as though you're not bothered. And it is very easy for you to detect if you're with a love partner who's lying or fraudulent. If anyone is carrying a certain energy or intention, but they present different. We did another free mini class here a couple months ago called The Mask. What was it called?
What are they hiding?
What are they hiding? So you would enjoy that a lot. I tried to look at it as an ability and a blessing, because I can always protect myself. And I would highly recommend that if you have that ability to hear what other people are thinking and intending, and you find that it's disturbing that they have ill will toward you and they're lying about it, what's really important is to pull yourself back and sort of detach. And every new person who enters into your space, we talk about that at the class, ask, what is their intention here? How will this play out? Your psychic ability will show you the future. And how should you be treating them or reacting to them? And that's all you really need to know, because 99.9% of the time, it's no threat. They can be like that. Let them be low. Let them be low. You go high. Who cares? You literally don't have to care. Okay?
Yeah. Back to the bathroom. Nikki Nikki says, I see gold sparkling light when I'm in the shower. Not all the time, just here and there.
So cascading lights, typically you see it out of the corner of your eye. And it could almost be like fireworks. I think of the ones that go off and then they fall. Okay, it'll look like sparkles or glitter or falling stars. We will sometimes see flashes of lights in different spots. These are typically a female presence, like a grandmother, a maternal energy, maybe an aunt who watches over you, something like this. But it could also be connected to an angel. You have two angels appointed to you when you come to Earth. And while a lot of people think that the higher up archangels are communicating with them all the time, that's pretty rare, or that may never actually happen. They're up there, they're very real, but they have other angels below them that work at different levels. And you have two that are appointed to you. So when you're seeing this, it's probably your angel communicating with you. And so you have a guardian angel and you have a protector angel. Your protector angel is watching over your physical well-being, or if you are about to be in any kind of mental or emotional danger. Also, if there's someone new in your life, like say you're dating someone new and it's not good for you, you would see more of this. Your guardian angel is watching over your mental and emotional well-being. And so I would always stop when I see something like that. And I would say, is it an ancestor or is it my angel? And what are the other physical cues? What is going on? But like anything, I'm always going to say the same thing. Before you go run into Google, before you go running to these videos, before you go looking over notes, sit with it for 5 to 10 minutes quietly. Just sit and ask the cascading lights, the flashes, ask who it is and what they're trying to tell you. It'll come to you. It's not hard to do. Yeah, that one you don't ignore. For sure.
It's not them telling you missed a spot.
Could be.
But a bigger spot than
you get that,
Polly? And I think this is a nice one to wrap up all the Clairs with.
Okay.
All Inked Up Mom said she definitely believes and has all the signs, but just doesn't know where to go from there.
You got, it's really about learning the language. There's so much to this language, and I really don't believe that people understand it. I have looked at all the other trainings out there since I was a kid. One misdiagnosis after another. I was never diagnosed with mediumistic ability. I was never diagnosed as a psychic. Looking at all the other trainings, they were all dull. They were all based on meditation. They were all based on pacifism. You've got to learn the language. There are so many layers to this onion, and it's important to really understand them all to figure out what abilities you have, but what you're supposed to do with them, how to use them appropriately, because they could also be used really inappropriately. Discernment is a huge part of this. That is also largely abandoned. It's just not discussed in the typical trainings for this. So I would highly recommend you check out the Psychic Mediumship course. That is one end to the next. I mean, I literally cover everything in there. And you're not going to find any other training like it. Like I said, it was given to me directly from Spirit. I believe wholeheartedly that the training Spirit has given me with the PSC method, the Psychology of Spirit Communication method, is based on what was in the Old Testament in the Bible, in the books of Solomon that was removed. Prophets and mediums were properly trained once upon a time. When those training manuals were removed, we were put with devil worshippers and rapists and murderers and thieves in the New Testament. And this has become seedy and dark. And the training has been lost. This is also getting in touch with our native roots. For those of you that are Hispanic, I'm a Taino Arawak. We see a lot of this, especially with minorities. This was a huge part of our roots. It's just been banned and washed out and covered up with Catholicism. We have to get back in touch, because the longer we stay out of touch, the more we're seeing these misdiagnoses, these supposed disorders and disabilities. And this is the continuation of labeling this as something dark or wrong is persisting, and it should not be. There is no pill for this. Okay, there is no therapy for this. The way to get back in touch is to learn the language and start applying it to your life so that you can heal and so that you can go out and give it to others. And the CLAIRS are a great place to start. So hope everybody enjoyed this. I do want to say thank you to anyone who donated. I see that button popping up here a bit. So thanks everyone for the donations. And I do want to say thank you and greetings to the members. Okay, so members here on YouTube, we have Bernadette Ruoff, Jill Marie, Chicken Mama, Carrie Watson, Vanessa Dempsey, Sherry Carter, Gloria Augusto, Angelica Pilar, Candace Kempton, Lori Filon, Jamie Joe, the Pisces Goddess, Cheryl Gottman, Michelle Kiska, Mary Hodgson, Heather, Amy Nicole, Amanda Hebert, and Katie Vagavelio. I hope I didn't massacre that one.
That's a tough one.
Yes, it is. And what is our next free mini class?
Our next free mini class is Trust, which is next Thursday at 8 p.m. right here on YouTube.
All right, very good. Don't forget your weekly horoscopes are up on YouTube now for every zodiac sign. Check them out. Thank you, Polly.
You're very welcome.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Spirit. Have a great week.